Under President Biden's most recent stimulus proposal, he outlines, among many other things, a minimum wage increase to $15 an hour. And this, of course, has sparked heated debate on both sides of the aisle. There's lobbyists arguing either against or for the increase in minimum wage. And just about everyone has some opinion on the matter, whether it should stay the same or be increased. And I just wanted to look into how serious Democrats are about this push. And when I was looking into it, I found out that it's not just part of Biden's stimulus proposal. Democrats both in the House and the Senate have reintroduced a bill that will do just this, to increase the minimum wage. And this is a bill that was attempted in 2019. This bill would increase the minimum wage to $15 an hour, and how they would do it is a little bit different than just jumping up from $7 and some to $15 overnight. It would increase every single year until it hits $15 an hour, and it would hit $15 an hour in 2025. So there's kind of a ramp up period. We had that here in Arizona, where the last 4 or so years, it's increased by about $1 every single year. And I believe it's $13 an hour as of the beginning of January. And then with this bill, after it hits $15 an hour in 2025, it would stay in line as a proportion of the median wage after that. So it would scale up with the median wage as time passes. This bill would also phase out tipped minimum wages, which is kind of a hot topic in itself, as many service workers actually like that wage. And then it would also alter minimum wages for youth workers and workers with disabilities. And actually, my first job, I worked on a farm for less than minimum wage. It was $6 an hour. What I worked for at the time, I think minimum wage must have been $7 or $7.25 at the time in Minnesota. And there's certain rules for agricultural businesses where they don't have to pay minimum wage either. And I was one of those people who was working for $6 an hour. Now, if Democrats could push this through is really the item in question, and it's quite interesting the more you look into it. Under normal rules, Democrats would need to pass this in the Senate with 60 votes, meaning 10 Republicans would have to vote for this. Otherwise, it would be filibustered or just simply wouldn't go through. And there's serious debate now as to whether budget reconciliation can be used for passing it with a simple 51 vote majority, or just a 50-50 split that has a tiebreaker broken by the vice president. Now, there's a debate here because of what's called the Byrd rule that has to do with budget reconciliation. Budget reconciliation is extremely complicated. I might have to do a video just breaking that down because it's much more complex than just saying, oh, just use budget reconciliation. But anyways, the Byrd rule, it states that any policies in budget reconciliation must have a budgetary impact, and that policy change can't be, quote, incidental, meaning it can't be a small part of something else. So in order for this to work, Democrats would have to convince the parliamentarian that the minimum wage affects the budget in a significant way. And there's opinions on both sides on this. A report done by the Congressional Budget Office has stated that changing the minimum wage would have minimal budgetary effects. Then Bernie Sanders and some other Democrats are arguing that it would have an effect because if more Americans are above the poverty line, fewer Americans would need to rely on government programs, thus saving the government money and affecting the federal budget. I mean, that's a tough call. I mean, I see both sides. I see the arguments on both sides here. Even not all members on the Democratic side are completely certain that the budget reconciliation will work for this. Again, they have to convince the parliamentarian to see their side in order to then go ahead and vote on it. Now I'm going to go over the arguments for and against increasing the minimum wage. That way you can formulate your own opinion on this. So starting with the arguments for increasing the minimum wage. The first one is the minimum wage simply hasn't scaled with the median wage. A lot of people argue that the minimum wage has stayed really low while the median wage has scaled up, and they just aren't following each other in tandem. Also, many people say that this would lift a large proportion of wage earners above the poverty line, and this would offer a big boost to minorities who would be disproportionately benefited from the increase in minimum wage, and it would help establish a living wage. Now, the arguments against this are it would increase unemployment because businesses wouldn't be able to afford paying people more. It would disrupt certain margins in certain industries. Other arguments are this would get worse over time because more companies would focus on automation. The cost of goods would go up because businesses are having to spend more to produce goods, and rural communities cannot handle the increase like a big city would. Some, small town in the middle of nowhere, it seems more realistic to pay a few dollars an hour less than a city like New York City or something like that. But I think New York City is already $15 an hour. So this is a tough one. This is honestly an on the fence kind of decision where it's pretty easy to see both sides and the arguments on both sides. I do personally have a concern that even if it didn't affect unemployment right away. I think in the long term, there would be a heavy focus on automation. If companies can get rid of that expense, they definitely will try to. So what are your thoughts on this? Do you think we should increase it, keep it the same, scale it in a different way? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I hope you have a profitable day.